Josh is going to tell us all kinds of fun stuff. Welcome, Josh,
Yep.
please, everybody.
Thanks very much. So we're going to book the trend a little bit. We're not Amazon experts, but hopefully we'll be able to give you a little bit of an insight into our world and our team. So I'm Chief Marketing Officer at UK Floor & Direct, and you guys are coming over for a bit of a site visit for us tomorrow. But just to set the scene a little bit, we were founded in 2006. We're based just around the corner in Hinckley. I did have to make a last-minute typo because Leicestershire was reading as Leicestershire, which had to get changed pretty quickly. But we are family-owned, all independently financed. Jason's actually me old man, and started. Yeah, that's Dad. And started his first website, was it 500 quid, something like that?
Yeah, £500.
And we're now 80 employees, 24 million turnover, which is 20% year on year, and UK's #1 online flooring retailer according to auction insights and impression share data that we track, etc. And this presentation was actually based on a presentation that I did for Oracle NetSuite in Vegas last year, which we were last year one of only 5 companies globally on a full stack for NetSuite, which included the Bronto marketing automation platform, which they purchased a couple of years ago, and their newly deployed Suite Commerce Advanced, which is about probably 3 or 4 years old now, but the full stack in its entirety is what I'll talk about a little bit about today. But effectively, just to add context, what we do, we source flooring globally. So China has been mentioned a few times, Eastern Europe, across Europe, directly with factories. So definitely have an akin to some of the challenges you guys are facing. Over 2 million stock of real wood, laminate and vinyl in the UK. We're a flooring retailer direct to the consumer. Obviously, e-commerce focused. And one of our big marketing campaigns to get to the product into the consumer's hands is free samples. Effectively delivering palletized products, big ticket items. And I'm quite interested actually to get feedback from you all. So we have dabbled in Amazon over the past, but does that, and I've written on my blue post-it. Can big ticket, big value, what we consider educational items work on Amazon? So hopefully you guys will be able to give me a bit of feedback on that later as well. But we're trying to create an omni-channel experience, which effectively, in a very simple way, is just more convenient for the continually pressed and challenged consumer, and a more delightful experience as well. So, trying to pick up a couple of the buzzwords, which I know Steve's trying to get across from this UK assessment, but strategic, systems and scale, and for us, we're always continually trying to strategically use data via our multiple systems to achieve a mass scale, stuff that you just can't do manually. And hopefully I'll be able to live up to that as well. I'm going through and do the UK test event of a bit of justice. So I'll be going through our tech stack and a bit of detail around that, and then how we leverage data. So briefly, what we used to have, some of the basic, simple, fundamental challenges we could talk forever around the room, and then what we have now. And hopefully out of this, you'll be able to, as I say, take a bit of an insight and a view of what a tech stack looks outside of Amazon, and it may either excite with the opportunity that's available or scare at the same time. So a tech stack of old, we had a lot of basic fundamental systems that most companies have in any kind of setup, so from back-end CRM, e-commerce, marketing programs and automation softwares, through to warehousing, order management, databasing, financials, etc. But the biggest issue that we had is that they were all sitting in independent silos. They weren't talking to each other correctly. We also didn't have the technical capability or the desire to create custom APIs across those, because then you start to get into a legacy situation where you're having to manage technology and manage and maintain. And a lot of times that can become more costly than the actual fresh development and fresh product itself. So the challenges that we were facing on that basis, as the consumers are starting to become more omni-channel focused, the consumers are everywhere and anywhere, and they expect the same experience and the same message across. So it's things as simple as, are our web samples still open leads, or have they converted through other channels? If you're not cross-referencing and being able to engage and counteract data across multiple channels, you would never know. What is the lead path to purchase and timeline? If you don't know they've converted in one channel but started another, you can't stitch those paths or times together. Are they still in active conversation with sales agents? It might look dormant in a number of channels, but if there's 5 phone records and active conversations, we can continue to understand that is actually still an active lead. And as a result, what email automation cycle should they be in based on behaviours that they've since demonstrated across multiple channels? How should the website treat the customer different on that basis? And something as simple as, which has been a big challenge for a lot of large-scale companies globally, isn't the stock on my website correct? A lot of national, global companies would have been dealing with multiple warehouses, multiple warehouse management systems, multiple point-of-sale systems that aren't all in line, and that becomes an ever-challenging barrier which people are trying to overcome. So our tech stack now, we're on a NetSuite Oracle centralized core system, which comprises of nearly all of these aspects. This is really what we would like to look at. We're looking at new dialers at the moment to continually inject our conversational data and our touch points. But that's effectively the vision. Since we added the website and e-commerce environment onto our single NetSuite stack, it's given us even more direct information on some simple user behaviours, but more importantly, it's not only metrics that you wouldn't have been able to have through an analytics situation or an analytics solution, but it tags it straight onto the customer record, and that can be seen by the sales agents as they go. Now, it doesn't come cheap. I mean, what's the value that we're putting on at the minute? 1.5?
Nearly 1.5.
So 1.5 million. We've got a new website. Yeah, we've got a new website due to go live in beta actually in the next few weeks, and to full live in May, which is the next instalment of the next version of that solution. So it doesn't come at cost, but once that's in, it's a live system. It's almost like Heartbeat. The data is seamless, it's constant, and it's readily available across all of those solutions. So then it's about how do we leverage that data. So it's now all in one place, or it's all now accessible in one place. So order information, customer profile information, interactions, lead information, abandoned basket, e-commerce data, all sounds really, really valuable, especially if that data flows both ways. So our marketing automation says this customer opened this email, and then sales guys say, well, now they've purchased, so don't send them another sales-based email. So what does that actually start to look like? Well, firstly, it starts to look something like this, which the key point is we're talking about systems, we're talking about data, we're talking about how to leverage data, but so many times people get lost in it, and I think you mentioned it yourself earlier in your presentation, when you just getting reams and reams and reams of reports, you can get paralysis by numbers, paralysis by data. So it's how can you then actually look through that data, take the time to target key insight points, key analysis points, and be very quite definitive with what you're looking to try and achieve from that data. And actually, I found out when you start to look a little bit closer, you can start to pick out some key points. And then I identify that actually if you type data consecutively, you can also say ta-da. And that's what happens when you start to look at data. You start to get those magic moments where you can start to actually pick some tangible value out of your data. But again, you have to be looking for a specific purpose, for a specific cause, to try and earn a specific objective. And you can get kind of swamped and lost in the data as a result of that, because you go in for one thing and you see 3 or 4 different elements that can take you down different paths, and that's fine because that's a good inquisitive nature. But it's making sure that there's that consistent view to get out what you went in for, and bring back a few extra kind of bonus prizes to either investigate at that time or to put on the list to investigate later, because you can't chew everything off all at once. So in this case, for us, an example of some of the data that we would have available and some of the data that we can then embellish we know that we've got a lead in our system. Let's say it's Mrs. Smith, she's just ordered a sample on the website. Maybe we've been able to cross-reference her with some segmentation. We've decided that this is an affluent customer based on her postcode address and leveraging some Experian or Hitwise data. We know that she's just sampled. Maybe she's a qualified lead because we've had a call or we've not had a call. And we know the product group, and therefore we may decide that's a hot lead. Furthermore, we know that she's came back to the site on the 20th of April. We know that we've registered an internal call log on the 21st of April. And these are all indicators that we can then start to use to generate actions or experiences off the back of. And again, a lot of them sometimes can be needless, and if you start to try and track every single interaction that user's having, you'll get lost. And it's about pinpointing what would you want to know to create an improved experience. And in this case, open the sale email, click the deal, and on the 24th of April, order placed. And the stage is they're a first-time customer, and then it's about moving them to post-purchase or refer a friend. One of the simplistic examples that we're putting in at the moment is a very, very simple example. It probably took us about 15 minutes to actually develop. But across the platforms, we can now not just do customers visited the website, customers put £1,000 worth of flooring into the basket and left the website and gets a standard abandoned basket cycle email series, which is a pretty common feature now. But we can actually tag an alert onto the sales agent that has the responsibility of managing that lead to say, give Mrs. Smith a call. She's pretty keen. She's just abandoned the basket. So it's then finding multiple channels and the most effective channel to be able to react and engage on that data. And that then opens up a whole new load of possibilities for customer experience development. And then the more and more you look, the more and more you'll find those ta-da moments, magic moments. So one of the key fundamentals that really underpin that is speed and accessibility. We mentioned about 15 minutes earlier on our data transitions. If that customer abandons and you have to manually cut that data and it's a weekly data cut or even a daily data cut, that time, that opportunity is probably lapsed. And that varies depending on what you're looking to achieve, but certainly in a lot of instances, the speed and the accessibility are key. When we talk about accessibility, it's not just I can go in and dig it out myself. It's is it in the right structure? Is it in the right format? Can it be put in a shape or a position to be leveraged? So I've flowed through, but I just wanted to give you a bit of an couple of examples of how we actually leverage data. So simplistically, it's about capturing the user interactions as a first point of call. That enables you to then query that data and decide then what relevant target segments are. And you'll find hundreds if you was to map all of the different variables and permutations, if not thousands. But it's which ones can you really actually feel you can make a difference with, and that the buckets of that segment are strong enough for you to have the desire to build a segment and some action specifically around. Personalise a message based on that interactions and that segmentation and that understanding of the user. And then again, which is key, choose the correct channel for delivery. And it may be actually we can get to them immediately through a Facebook ad, which some of the guys were talking about earlier, or we want to get to them via email, or it's such a high value scenario that we actually want to try and put a call in or an SMS because it's more responsive. And again, that's dictated by the segment and the message particularly, because each channels lend themselves to different types of messaging. Obviously, when you're talking about Facebook, you've got character limits, so you can get a more elaborate message across on email. So a simple example, we might have some data that says we've got a new visitor to the site, they've sampled, and it's particularly a grey laminate. So target segment, pretty simply named, new grey laminate sampler. But then how do we differ the message? We might want to say to these guys, hey, right, so we know that you're buying flooring. We know that takes a little bit of time. It's not an impulse purchase. So we're going to send you some ideas around top 5 grey floors, and then some support of what to do next with your samples. Pull in different lights, pull it against your kitchen cupboards or whatever that may situate. But the purpose is deciding on what the most relevant message will be, and then picking the right channel delivery for that. So it may be an email nurture flow, which is taking on the top 5 grey floors and then variations of that, and then variations across different seasons. retarget on search. Most for us specifically at the moment, that's where most of our customers are coming from, so it's make sure that we're in the place that they're showing us that they're the most frequent. And then also custom audience in Facebook. We've got their email address at this point because they've sampled, so not just the retargeting pixel, we can actually do a custom audience which gives us a little bit more granularity and a little bit more control. But there's more that you could polish around that. And again, those are across multiple channels, and it doesn't stop there. This is a live, breathing segment. So now they're a returning visitor because they've came back and they have added something to cart. And this time they've progressed on the journey from just a generic product group to a specific, say it's an 8mm light grey laminate. So this time they're now under a returned and added to cart and abandoned 8mm light grey laminate. So maybe this time it's an offer with an expiry, some kind of urgency-based message, maybe even a stock alert message if we don't want to go down the deal urgency, but something to try and invoke a behaviour that's going to generate a transaction as a result. And again, channel delivery, where does that go? And the key point here is, if we'd done an email nurture flow on the first example, and that was suggested to run for 28 days, but after day 14 they've came in abandoned cart, we want to be able to negate those from the other experiences and move them on to the new experience at the most appropriate time across all of the channels, and making sure that the message is cohesive and succinct across. So also I know there's an Amazon focus on the event, so I was trying to look for examples and doing a bit of research on Amazon and how we could take kind of this into the Amazon marketplace, and I really just stumbled across one image a couple of times, and hopefully you guys can help me with that in terms of how we can get more data out of Amazon. That was pretty much what I came up against. So all jokes aside, there's a lot of considerations. Amazon holds a lot of data, a lot of information close to its heart. Whilst that sometimes can be restrictive as well, obviously, as you guys will know, having a successful business on there's a lot of benefit to that. I mean, no more than what it is at the moment is data privacy, data management, data responsibility at such a height in the media with the Facebook and, what is it, Cambridge Analytics scam. So you've almost got that level of safeguard where, you know, Amazon have got it down on lock and key, and you're leveraging that process and practice and structure that they've got in there. But like I say, there's multiple sides to every story. And hopefully you've seen something that enables you to excite, to look at different ways of doing business, or even synergies that you can take where there are maybe different restrictions or different data profiles available, but with a bit of an ingenious kind of thought process, maybe you can overcome some of that. I was surprised when I was doing some research last night. I wasn't aware that you could do retargeting for Amazon, and I believe that you physically can't directly within Amazon. I think a couple of the guys mentioned it earlier when you're talking about retargeting just on social. So if they've clicked and doing a custom audience on the back of that, but that's limiting you to so much. Just knowing that somebody's clicked to the ad, how can you can't get that understanding, as far as I'm aware, of whether did they look at your ad, did they look at multiple of your ads, did they make it back to your my terminology is probably terrible, but your master page, and actually did they end up clicking on one of Amazon's recommended products and going and buying something else, and therefore your retargeting efforts is completely wasted cost. But not to be too much of a killjoy.
I just wanted to mention, somebody mentioned to me after checking with the person, but apparently there's a specific type of URL you can send when you're sending people directly to Amazon, and that actually does have the tracking in it, so you can actually plug into Facebook and you can determine if that person has bought on Amazon.
So track their on-site behaviour as well.
So they have offline events.
That's the one.
You can track purchases using offline events for Facebook to try to tie that. It's very difficult. It is mostly evolved. I like the optimistic, fuzzy side, hey, GDRP or whatever, you're covered. Amazon's got all the responsibility. That's a good way to look at it.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Josh.
But yeah, that's all.
Okay, so who's got
thanks.
questions for Josh? Oh, please, go ahead.
So what do you use for your
Facebook stuff. NetSuite don't do that, right?
No, NetSuite doesn't do that. So we use an agency partner, a company called Brain Labs, who are AdWords PPC specialists. The company's only 4 years old, and the founder is an ex-Googler, so he's got a bit of inside track. But then they've also got a developing specialist, Facebook display ads, social arm as well. And we're actually just looking at testing some Pinterest advertising with them as well, which lends itself to our product group very well.
Low cost per click.
Yeah, definitely. And then we do that directly through the Facebook interface.
Any other questions? Jack?
Just out of interest, is typically these are kind of one-off purchase items, like, so what you kind of know what that be? What are you going to do looking at the customer life cycle?
Yeah, so as you quite rightly said, there's a long time lag between flooring purchases, especially for the average retail consumer. We focus a lot on, or we start to focus a lot on the first phase of that journey, which is just the initial window, the initial life cycle journey could be 2 weeks, 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 12 weeks. And then it will be progressively looking at how then we expand that and understand and quantify customer lifetime value and how we influence that over 1 year, 5 years, even 10 years. But that's certainly kind of progressional phases on our radar, definitely.
There's more frequency than you might imagine. So a lot of people, I don't remember if this is relevant here, I'm guessing it is, they go more room by room than the whole household. And so when they're doing that sort of thing, then you do have more than one bite of the apple. They're just big ticket bites. You know, 400 or 500 quid that's just a room or two. And whereas the whole house may be, 3,000 or 4,000 quid, depending on the product, could be more or less. But I would say there's probably a high amount of repeat purchase, more than people would assume. And that's why it's still highly relevant. And even though what Josh, any other question for Josh before I have any?
So there's also this is B2C model. So is there a B2B
There is
model?
there is a B2B proportionate as well, yeah. But again, it's similar principles, a different marketing proposition layer, etc. But same principle. Understand the customer, leverage data, leverage systems and technology to try and create that relationship, and then manage and maintain that relationship through to conversions. Well, so we're effectively a fronted e-commerce business, but actually 70% of our sales come through the phones as a result of that. And at our head office, we do have a small showroom for a local area, which is part of one of our next development phases. But yeah, really focused as an e-commerce.
Just jumping in, the work that the guys are doing at the moment with the data from the trade customers who's fast to repeat purchase, some of the information.
Yeah, I'm going to show you tomorrow, actually, yeah.
Yeah, so this is the best part of it. So, all right, first, any other final question for Josh? Let's give it up for Josh. Sorry. Yeah, give it up for Josh first, and then we'll go to Jack. Sorry. All right, Jack, go ahead.
Just out of interest, when you started to ship the floor samples, how much of an impact did that have?
A big impact, Jet. A big impact. We're going to talk about some of that stuff. They're going to share some data points. So we're going to take a break.